So in 3 minutes, we will start with Luis Morales. I will. I have not received your bio, but I know you personally. I can tell you you're from Argentina. You're also from Colombia. I know you're a very good musician. I even used videos, music for my videos. So thank you for that. Um, and I also know that you're part of the Argentina Association. But what else can you tell about yourself? What is missing?
Well, those rules that you gave are more restrainful than the COVID-19. I'm kind of scared about. Well, I'm like to define myself as with three qualities. Talking about what we are listening to just recent, and I said that I define myself as a joyful person, a creative person, and a lovely one. Those are the three qualities that I go with them all the way. No matter the circumstances, I'm just putting them on my north to every time that I need to stay there. So if you want me, I can start and I can talk to you a little bit more about me.
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Well, my name is Luis, and I have been a reader for more than 22 years. And maybe some of you guys, as Antonio said, know me as a musician. My artistic name is Divinity. And first of all, of course, I would like to thank our Father for the opportunity to be here among all of you guys, and especially to Chris, who invited me to participate in this meeting. I apologize for my English; it's not so good, so I hope you guys get through the presentation without any problems. But before going into the topic of this presentation, I would love for you to join me in 4 minutes and 29 seconds, I promise that, to enjoy a moment of contemplation and worship to our Father. This will be while we listen and watch one of the songs that I composed, which is called The Spiritual Gravity. So,
Luis, if you're sharing, there's an extra option so that you're really sharing the computer audio.
I got it already.
Okay.
I got it already. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go. Just for the case, if you don't listen, just tell me, Antonio. So take a deep breath, guys, and let's promote in our hearts a huge thanks to our Heavenly Father for this amazing 24 encounter. Well, now I feel less nervous than before. Yeah.
What was the name of the song, by the way?
Spiritual gravity. And the dark goes in, but no more. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this wonderful moment with our creator. Everyone interested in my music, of course, and videos could find me on the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and everything. Talking about this presentation, of course, the following presentation is a personal interpretation of the teachings. Of course, it doesn't pretend to be an absolute perspective, so you can guys differ freely. So let's begin. I don't know about you guys, but I love stories. I love stories and love the most that ones that makes me cry. I'm very crying person. I love to cry with stories. And some of the stories that most catch me are those in which a neighborhood child with a humble origin appears kicking a ball. I love soccer, by the way. And it turns out that this boy has a dream to be a professional player, but he has a small problem. He is the small problem. He's very small. He's diagnosed with a growth problem, and doctors say that he will need a very, very expensive treatment in order to have the possibility of being normal, like the others. And regarding to the dream, of course, the doctor said, well, the dream could be completely forgotten. Probably some of soccer fans already know who I'm talking about. Well, the story goes that several clubs were interested in the boy, and because he was very talented, but knowing that they have to pay the treatment and that was so expensive, they just didn't and reject him. All the clubs except one. And that club believed in his potential and paid for the treatment, and the rest is history, guys. And this is pretty much the story of Leo Messi. So that story is amazing. Makes me cry every time that I see the life of Messi. But one of the things that Urantia given me is purpose. But we have to recognize that we are starting in a very, very humble origin, and adversity is something that we have to face every day, like Messi did. But we have someone who loves us and who believes in us and that's our Heavenly Father. And He has given us a valuable, maybe the most valuable treatment, so we can reach that dream, that destiny. And that treatment is nothing but the thought adjuster. So purpose we're talking about. I found Urantia 22 years ago, and I found purpose. Purpose. I was eager for purpose. I need something to aim to. So if there's something that Urantia Book has given me, is the possibility to understand that purposes all the way, and behind this dance of this fantastic universe full of spheres, suns, galaxies, stars, and that's an amazing feeling, because I have a sense of life. Well, we have purposes at the personal level, at the super universal level. We have purposes at the present universal era, like when we talk about the supreme, and even we have this future unknown to discover purpose when we superior all the supreme stage. So it's amazing. It's amazing to have those purposes, but let us focus on the personal purpose story, in those epic stories of each one of us who have the chance to have this fantastic treatment that the Father gave us. This is the Father invitation. Be perfect as I am perfect. This is my destiny, guys. This is my destiny, my compass, my north, my dream. And I know that for some of you, maybe for all of you, is the same. And from our humble beginnings, this achievement may seem really overwhelming and practically unattainable. It's like too far. It's too far. Being perfect, like God is perfect. Wow. But like any good story, great victories are achieved through small conquests. And our first great little conquest is not so far. It's not so far. The fusion with the thought adjuster. Wow, it's not little, I know, but it is our first goal, guys. And if you think about it, it is just right on the corner. It is just right on the corner. It's not too far. We can make a really great advance here in our mortal life to achieve it, or to advance to achieve it. Can you imagine? Can you even imagine the energy power of each one of us once we merge with this divine sparkle of our Father? It's like blows my mind. And that's just a few blocks around. So we have to be happy about that. So besides being happy, we need that our efforts today are aiming to that goal. And that makes us think about the two critical factors in this path: free will and time and space. Free will and the framework in which that free will takes place: time and space. Time and space is like the soccer field, where we have the possibility of living experiences, learning from them, and looking for ways to be better and better. But learning and that possibility of being better depends on the decisions and actions we take on the field. Am I playing only by myself? Am I going crazy and want to dribble everyone, even the ones in my team? Or do I believe in the strategy and play with my team? How is my ability? Do I train to improve my control over the ball? Well, this is free will, the gift through which we and no one else are responsible for in the leading role in our own stories. So what is the real challenge here? What is the real challenge? Of course, the real challenge is using this free will to reach our potential, our divine potential, in the time that is given to us. And by the time, I don't mean the Urantian lifetime. Urantia is just one of the many, many games that we will have to play on this wonderful playground that is called the 7 universes. I want you to please pay full attention to this. Well, this is my son, four-month-old son, Santi, and I want you to carefully observe and watch his movements. Wow, I love it to see him. Well, are his movements harmonious, controlled, synchronized? Does his mind control his movements, or are those movements responding to biological impulses? Well, I consider myself blessed to see him grow. At my 48 years old, this is my first child, so you can imagine. And I feel blessed because I have 22 years of Urantia book studying background. So I can observe a lot of things about his growing process. And as I watch him gradually gain control of his movements, I keep thinking about the great challenge that we have from this beautiful, 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 but humble beginning until the magnificent moment, guys, when we reach that first goal of the spiritual conquest. Nor do I stop thinking about the humble beginnings of the Urantian humanity and the evolutionary plan of the planets and of time and space in which achieve control, self-control, becomes the great task of man. We must understand that the life mechanism in which we reside has its roots in the world of physical energy, and that many of our actions are actually reactions, biological responses to stimulus generated by electrochemical processes. That's how we are. Even that I'm 40 years old already, it's like that. It's like that. The good news here is that the same evolutionary principle that makes us reactive to physical stimulus contain the wonderful secret to help us learn how to subordinate this physical life machine. We can subordinate this physical life machine. That is our goal. How? Good question. How? Well, when we are getting old and we understand that we have this treatment in our hands, we have to work with it. We have to work with it. And this is by the process of consecrating the human mind to the execution of the spiritual urges of the indwelling thought adjuster. But take a look at that. It is a process to learn to replace our reaction to physical life with the decision action to respond to spiritual stimulus. Through this process, we really achieve self-control, which is the acme of all human virtues. Well, this means that as we master this process, we will gain in spiritual development, and this should be reflected, of course, should be reflected in the mastery of a self-control behavior. And here I must stop my presentation to invite you to think about yourselves. How is this mastery level of my self-control? Do I have any mastery level of my self-control? Another one, am I consistent? Am I a consistent person? Do I think, say, and do correspondingly all the time? No. Another one, am I executing all what I plan to do? Last one, am I allowing my emotions lead me to react instead of managing them to act in a spiritualized way? For example, in this pandemic situation, does my emotions react to feeling constrained and probably react with my partner in the house? I don't know. Well, that questions are trying to let us know how we are in this self-control process going on. And I think, for my point of view, of course, I think we all have a lot of work ahead, don't we? Now, the big question is, how can we develop self-control? How can we develop self-control? And we must begin by recognizing that this process of consecrating the mind to the impulses of the adjuster has more to do with the thinking than with the feeling or the emotion. Has to do more with the thinking than with the feeling of the emotion. We can deeply, guys, love our Father, but that this doesn't mean necessarily that I am prepared to receive or prepare my mind to what is needed to be better, for assimilate what the thought adjuster wants to tell me. So it's a thinking process. Does that lead us to the importance of understanding how the mind works and how works the process of spiritualized thinking. We can distinguish two types of worlds in our reality. The inner world, which is everything that happens to me as biological individual unit. And on the other hand is the outer world, which is pretty much everything that is not me. The first process, well, one of the first process of the mind has to do with recognition. Recognition, which is a process where we register in memory patterns all the impressions that we receive from the outer world. Then our mind integrates and organizes these memory patterns into a dynamic network of principles. And that process is called understanding. So we have recognition, then understanding. When you combine those, produces meanings. The combination of recognition and understanding produces meanings, which are the constructs of thoughts that insert this network of principles to a conceptual framework of reality. And that far so good. But here comes the wonderful. Meanings lead us to values. And it is in the spiritual experience where our thought adjuster helps us by revealing us the true values of life in the spiritual experience. Let me explain this process with an example that pops into my mind, that occurs into my mind. Let's suppose I see a child sitting crying in the street, in the rain, under the rain. Well, all of that was recognition already. My mind already knows what is each of these elements because I had already created the memory, that memory pattern for each one of them. So I know what is raining, I know what rain is, I know what a child is, I know what a street is. No? That already, recognition already appeared there. Now my mind organizes and integrates those impressions and patterns into a dynamic network of principles. And that is called understanding. In this case, I understand what is happening. And the proof of that, and the proof that I understand is that, for me, is that I can explain it in another way. I could say, for instance, it rains in the street and crying. Sitting, there is a child. I put it in another way. So, but it's like, it makes sense almost as the original phrase. So I understand the situation. I put it all together and I understand what is happening. When I then combine recognition and understanding, my mind proceeds to give meaning to that network of principles. So I think the child is sad. Something happens. Probably something happens to him because it is raining, and instead of looking for cover, he stays there. Something happened to him. So I think that's the meaning. So I think maybe I can help him. He's lost, and maybe I can help him find his parents. And then I act. I go and ask him. Then, right there, derived from the meaning, value appears. Service, love for the others, goodness. So that's the process of spiritualized thinking. Therefore, it is key to understand that our action is in the middle. This is not an automatic process. Our action is in the middle. Where? In fostering our thought process through which I connect the meanings with those true spiritual values. I need to work on that. I need to work on my mind to coordinate with the true spirit values that a thought adjuster had given to me somehow. This is the process of the mind, but again, it is not an automatic process. It may come to a point and not advance beyond the meaning or even the understanding stages. I could see the child, understand what is happening, but go without the value experience. So once we understand the process of the mind and how can we work with this mind to coordinate with the thought adjuster, We need faith. Faith. Just as our Father believes in us, we must have to have faith in the adjuster that inhabits us. A faith that manages to dominate body, mind, and spirit. We need to believe in that we have the treatment right. And faith in our thought adjuster and the purpose of merging with it allows us to understand that in this life we are passing through very fast, that our body is nothing less but than a temple for that fragment of the Father, and that's it. We free ourselves from the chains of flesh. We become children of the Spirit. We have a great story to tell, guys. We have a great story to tell, a destiny to reach. Faith. Another thing that we can do to develop our self-control is to implement religious habits of thought and action that promote predisposition to react to spiritual stimulation, not to physical life, to spiritual stimulation. Some of those habits are described in the paper 100. So let me ask a few questions around some of them. Sensitivity to divine values. Sensitivity to divine values. That's a habit. Well, do I know what those divine values are? I'm really sure that those are the divine values. So, do I know what those divine values are? Do I have the ability to recognize the meanings around the situations that happen to me, and how I am relating them to the divine values? Sensitivity to divine values. So I have to connect the situations and the meanings that I get into my daily basis with the divine values. What out of this situation can have with love, with beauty, with goodness, with truth? Then let's go to another one. Recognition of religious living in others. Am I fully aware that in the majority of people I meet, reside a thought adjuster as perfect, as divine as mine? Am I fully aware of that when I encounter with anybody, that person has the same treatment that I got? And what about the people that we don't go along with? The enemies. Are we seeing that they are and they have the treatment as well? Well, recognition of religious living in others could be another thing. Could be about what his practice is. So we need to give a thought about these habits and how can we implement them in our life. Another one, reflective meditation on cosmic meanings. This one is kind of difficult for me because I said to me, can I distinguish the difference between a cosmic meaning and one that is not? And it's like, I don't know how to respond to that question right now. I'm supposed to, but I'm not quite sure. What characteristics does a cosmic meaning have? And how can I recognize that cosmic meaning in my day-to-day basis, my day-to-day experience? Well, it can go like this with each one of the rest, but it is essential. My invitation is that it's essential that we study them and incorporate these spiritual predispositions of reaction, so that they become habits in our process of thought and action. And action is important. Action is important. Not all is about thinking. Our decisions and actions provide to our thought adjuster with the possibility to help us raise our spiritual perception and understanding. Those actions, your motives, our decisions, our determinations and desires, they really constitute our cooperation with our adjuster. And cooperating with our adjuster is related not only to responding to the divine guidance, but also to loving the Father and wanting to be like him, serving and loving our neighbor because he had the same treatment that I got. Loving the man, sincerely desire to serve him. Of course, accept that we are part of this fantastic world, fantastic universe, which we are all cosmic citizens. Finally, let us not forget about pray, brothers and sisters. Our prayer is the source of a powerful energy that accompanies us in the search for individual self-control. Our challenge is huge. It's huge, but not impossible. We don't need to conquer the world. We only need to rule ourselves. That is enough. Thank you very much. Are you there?
Yeah, he's still here. Are there any questions for Luis?
No questions. No questions. I don't take questions. Of course. I will try to respond what my limit language, English language, can respond. But thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, some chat messages.
Okay. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for all. Thank you. Hey, teacher.
Hi, Luis.
Hey, teacher, how are you? Well, do you guys like it? What do you think? Let us take advantage of this minute that we had to maybe to share what you guys think about self-control. Are we fully aware of that? That we are in the path of divinity through self-control? Marianne, did you want to talk?
Fantastic. You're fantastic. Fantástico. La mejor.
Oh, very good.
I think we do want to receive the presentation because sometimes you could not see the whole text on top of it, you know, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well.
But of course we will receive all the presentations. That's correct, Chris, no? We can share all the presentations with the viewers if wanted, correct? If he's there. I liked it.
Marta Elders is...
Marta wants to talk. Okay. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
You go.
Unmuted?
You go.
Okay.
Self-control.
Self-control, right. Um, I love the presentation. Of course, I don't think we're anywhere near self-control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're just on the way. But I would have to add, I loved your enthusiasm. I love the first story, and I love the enthusiasm, the being with God that you shared. It was contagious, and it was exciting, and it was alive and vital. And it's like, yes, there's a part of me that just wants to, as if I were in a soccer stadium with Messier yelling, yes, 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 go, go, go. But it was delicious. It was really, I really appreciate it. And I think you targeted everything along that way. And I think I will use the story that you used in terms of God seeing in us what the soccer team saw in Messier. And it's so embraceable. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you for your comment, for your kind comment. And yes, it is a huge task that we have gaining self-control. But the thought that comes to my mind every time is like that we're supposed to merge with the thought adjuster here. So it's not far. It's not far. So probably we won't have it here, but the fusion is around the corner when we pass through the next words. I don't know how to say it in English. Those mansionary words. Well, it's right there before we get through the whole trip to the Father. So it's very, very happy to understand a very it's very, I don't know, I feel excited about getting a fusion with the thought adjuster, because I cannot imagine what I become, what you become, what we all become. That's amazing. And that's just the start, man. So it's like, well, so let's face it, let's go.
Yeah, so we have another question from David.
Okay.
Louis, that was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. But I have a question for you. The music was beautiful. Now, is your stage name I'm sure I'm not getting this right. I mean, if I go on YouTube and look for you,
let me put it. They are Sanskrit terms, you know. Dipti Bhakti. Dipti means devotion, and Bhakti means illumination. So when I was looking for a name, an artistic name, I figured out that liked me, because through to get illumination, I have to see. No, how do you say when you seed to grow a plant? Well, seed devotion. I had to work on my devotion to get the illumination. So that it was like an association, and I got with that name. But they are Sanskrit terms.
Oh, okay, very interesting. So that's how I would find you if I did a search on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, Spotify. I'm working on a new album. So I love to work with the inspiration of the U-book. So
Aren't you also on SoundCloud?
Yes.
Huh? Okay.
SoundCloud, Bandcamp.
Jim has also a question. He also has.
I also want to speak, please.
Okay, Jim.
Okay, this is Jim. I want to thank you so much for your wonderful presentation there. Meaning plus value, but it leads to one place from that, I think, and that is decisions. And making decisions in life over and over again. But the thought adjuster only really cares about one decision, I think. Are you willing to follow the will of God? And isn't that the test of life? But that's also, for me, I've been able to find out what that means quite often, in that there's an acronym called THINK. Like, don't say something unless it's true, humble, important, necessary, or kind. And by using that filter, I've been able to pretty much evaluate my behaviors. The important thing is not judging other people on those, because we can't expect other people, anybody else's enlightenment. But can I always be kind? And the hard thing for me to learn was how to be kind to myself and forgive myself for my flaws. And but now I have this loving Father that's always there, and it is my will that my Father in heaven's will be done, and that's what I try to live every day. So thanks for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. I agree with all that you said. Probably with that first question that you make, we can go every day, every time, every situation, and that's it. We are fostering our minds to work and cooperate with the thought adjuster. It's like we have to give ourselves to the time to think about it, because responses are coming. Responses are coming. Jeannie.
Hi.
Jeannie, my lovely Jeannie.
Hi, Luis. Thank you very much for your presentation. I enjoyed it very, very much. I just want to comment about self-mastery or self-control. We comment this in the chat before. David also comment. The master's religion made no provision for spiritual self-examination. Jesus taught character growth, spiritual transformation through our spiritual rebirth, receiving the spirit of truth in our soul. This is a spiritual baptism, and growing in spirit, communing with God in true worship to produce an abundant harvest of the fruit of the spirit. And Jesus said, "If then, my children, you are born of the Spirit, you are forever delivered from the self-conscious bondage of a life of self-denial and watch care over the desires of the flesh, and you are translated into the joyous kingdom of the Spirit, whence you spontaneously show forth the fruits of the Spirit in your daily lives." And the fruits of the Spirit and the essence of the highest type of enjoyable and ennobling self-control. Even the hates of terrestrial mortal attainment through self-mastery. And also say Jesus, when man yields the fruit of the Spirit in his life, he is simply showing forth the traits which the master manifested in his own earthly life. My apologies for my pronunciation, it's terrible, I know. But I wanted to say
Better than
these
mine.
wonderful, wonderful words of Jesus, because which means self-mastery. Self-mastery is being transformed by the Spirit. And to be transformed by the Spirit is not just a total adjuster, it is a spirit of truth also. We need to receive in our soul the spirit of truth. And then the fruits of the Spirit, the word, fruits of the Spirit are natural when we are in this wonderful, wonderful spiritual transformation. We're transformed by the Spirit. This is what we need to be really, to have self-mastery, to self-master ourselves. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Jenny. I agree with you. I almost forget about the spirit of truth, but we have a lot of aid. You know, we have a lot of help here around. We are not just around. Well, of course, we have the treatment right, that is the thought adjuster, and we have the spirit of truth. We have a package of help here, but the work is ours. You know, the work is ours. When we use free will, when we decide how to react to every situation that we have, and pass from these movements that my little baby had, like having an epilepsy moment, but to control myself and to see what the point and the spiritual values are behind every situation that I got. Of course, is very difficult. I think I was thinking that God probably our Father see us as we saw my son. It's like we are now. I'm a 40 years old guy, very grown up guy, so I have pretty much dominate myself. And then God must see us and say, "Oh, well, this guy." But that's the amazing thing of this adventure. It is an adventure, so we have to face it like an adventure, even if we are surrounded by COVID-19 and everything like that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all.